Hello, I'm Yunjie Chen. Today we're going to talk about the famous Liszt Etude La Campanella. It is, of course, famous for its consecutive jump, running notes, and the exciting ending. But what I want to talk about today is that other than these obvious elements, there's a lot more to it, a lot more artistry, a lot more beauty, a lot more elegance to this piece than we usually think. Now, let's start from the beginning. In the beginning, this is the introduction, of course. It imitates the sound of bell in the far distance. People tend to do this in a very free way, but I think the tempo here should be the tempo of the very beginning, because when the actual jump starts, we don't have time to gradually get into the tempo. Now, about jumping accurately, I would recommend a very simple exercise. This exercise concentrates on the position of the upper note, the D sharp. And we need to learn to be firm and be very positive about the position of the D sharp, wherever the lower note is. And that's very important. In my practice, I do it from a fifth up until 2 octaves, which is the utmost distance in the piece, and backwards as well. And practice every day makes us not only physically remember the notes, but also mentally remembers the upper notes. Now, number 2 is how to jump artistically. If we just go from one point to the other, horizontally, like this, the sound will be very dry, very percussive, very mechanical, instead of musical. So I would suggest to make an arch form between these 2 notes. When we do this, we also need to remember that has to be one note at least on which we can rest. It can either be the lower note or the upper note. That actually we can choose. But the most dangerous situation in actual performance is that for the whole time we are hanging in the middle of the air. I would recommend to rest on the lower note because it is the melody. Now let's go on. And after the introduction comes this part. Lots of people start quite loud and quite active right here. I wouldn't do that. I think the first part is very dreamy, very poetic, very lyrical. Now, the real action starts from here. Now, here, this has a feeling of scherzo and sort of like trying things out, not getting into it immediately, has a playful quality. Now, this jump is actually very tricky. That is bar 22. Why? Because before the jump, for the first time, we have quite a few notes to run, and has to be clear, crisp, accurate. And immediately after this is the jump. That's why I think this part is actually very difficult. And when we are doing all those technical things, we also have to remember there's always phrase and change of color, because the first time is B major, and then D sharp minor, then it's F sharp major. So these three key changes need to be very obvious and very colorful. And now here, this is bar 29, 30, 31, 32. Also, it's a big contrast. This one is quite bright, and this one needs to be much less. Or if you decide to do the opposite, it's also okay. It just needs to have a lot more details rather than just jump. The more details you carry, the less risky the technical aspect is. Now you will say, why? Because the fingers, when it has very clear instruction from the brain, it has a conviction. It knows exactly how to approach the key. Now let's go on. This place is bar 34. This is very difficult. Now lots of people use the other hand to compensate this, but I believe it's probably not my choice, because if the left hand moves upwards that much, it would break the left hand balance. So what I use is just 3 times 1 5 2 4 1 5 2 4 1 5 2 4. And when we practice, I would make a little slur, 3 of it. And I think that would be a very good choice of fingering. Now we must talk about the triplets. First of all, we need to remember, because it's triplets, it has to be significantly faster. I mean, note-wise, same tempo, of course. You know, a lot more notes in one space. But lots of people make the beginning very fast, but then the later parts, the triplets, not as fast, for the simple reason it is very difficult. Well, that's inappropriate, because the whole structure of La Campanella is one big crescendo and a tremolo, leads to the real climax in the very ending. About the technical side of this triplets, we tend to think the difficulty is 2-1 repetition, but actually it is 2-1-5 and move back. Therefore, when I practice such passages, I would make a etude of my own. Go up and down. And if you just practice 2 notes out of it, you are not actually practicing the difficult part. And we need to be very used to the motion, 2-1-5 and then move back. The 5 move back to 2 is actually where it is most difficult. Now we're going to talk about the 4 notes. The trick is to make the 3rd finger very clear, because that is the center of this scale. Now here, that is bar 66. This middle voice has to be very clear, and also has a very good sense of direction, rather than just hitting it spontaneously. And it is in accordance with the left hand. Now we are approaching the very exciting ending. But before that, we do have to, again, address the issue of bar 79. This fingering is actually very difficult. Now I have a few suggestions / solutions. First of all, we need to make the thumb a pivot point, where you play this and the thumb can have a chance to relax. And when you practice this, the wrist has to be very free. It sort of shakes in. I specifically said shake in because it's much better than just stuck there and just move the two fingers. Now, here. This passage is the real fast passage. Before, there are certain passages we really must hold our tendency to go fast because we need to reserve it for the very last part. Here, first of all, it has to be in 6. Not in 2. Now, the octaves. The octaves here, of course, must be fast. But on the other side, it's still a melody. It cannot be too percussive, too mechanical, just blatant fast and loud. There's also a melodic line, a crescendo, diminuendo, and breathe involved. Now, the very ending. Now, how to do this? My method is that I practice every 2 note is one group. And I intentionally relax the second one. Yeah. And in this way, you know, when you really practice fast, you have one chance to rest when you play loud, and when you play the soft one, the hand lifts up and it gives a little bit of breathe to the hand, so you wouldn't actually stuck there. Now, the very ending. The bass is very important, and then the last chord, what is most important, is the right hand. Even till the very last ending, where it is the real climax, we still have to watch out for the balance, for the beautiful sounds of a chord, rather than just fast and loud. Thank you. That was La Campanella.